Mike Probozzi back in the Money Players Podcast, Keeneland edition, and only a couple of days of Keeneland left this week. So we're going to do shows on Thursday and Friday. For the Thursday show, I brought in former jockey, current exercise rider, and I would say probably near assistant trainer in the Grand Motion stable, Will Humphrey, to give us, he's on the grounds in Kentucky. Will, how goes it in the bluegrass?
Everything's great down here. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, we're recording this show on Tuesday. I'm going to be leaving Keeneland tomorrow afternoon and heading up to Churchill Downs in the afternoon. Going to be taking test score, and Fondley is going to be shipping in for the Oaks. So that's very exciting. And but listen, before we get to that, we've got a couple more days left at Keeneland, and as you say, Mike, we're going to be covering this late pick 5 sequence on Thursday, which is a bit of a doozy. It's not easy, to say the least.
Yeah, this is really tough sequence, and we've had plenty of Keeneland coverage. I would say, for my money, this is one of the toughest sequences of the entire meet here, this late pick 5 for Thursday. We have 3 turf races, 2 dirt races. Well, it starts in race number 5, 3:08 Eastern. They're going a mile and a half there in the leg 1 of this late pick 5. It's an allowance. It's a 1X. How are we going to kick it off today?
Let's start by talking about the 10 in here, Mike. Steadfast Resolve, who I think is one of the more logical horses to use in here, and I will be making this gelding my top pick. George Weaver and Irad Ortiz teaming up here. This horse returned off a slight freshening, stretched out to 1 mile and 3/8 for the first time at Gulfstream Park in his last start, and ran really, really well. He was slightly wide that day, but came rolling late, finished less than 3 lengths behind Mutterwid, who's a very likable horse, and it just visually made a really great impression. I thought that he ran in a style that suggested that today's extra furlong is going to see him to better effect. Now making his second start off of the layoff, he paired up by tops of 82 in that race. That's always an indication that horses are ready to jump up to a new level here. And he's also been gelded since that last start. And Connections obviously only geld horses when they feel that it's going to bring about improvement. So I think that there's lots of indications that this horse is going to run a career best today. That 82 bar speed figure already fits, makes him competitive in this group. You've got to like the fact that he's attracted Irad Ortiz, and I think that he's a very logical contender at 10-1. 3-1. I'll make him my top pick in here. I'm also going to take a bit of a price in the 6 here, Greystone. It goes out for Mike Maker, and we all know how much Mike Maker has to be feared in these 1.5 mile marathon turf contests. And this horse hasn't done a lot of winning recently. However, he has been running figures that certainly make him fit with this group. You see 85, 86, 86, 80 bars consistently as well. And he's got some good form in there. 2 starts back, he ran third at 23-1, finished just a length and a quarter behind Corruption, who returned to finish second in the Pan American the next day with a 95 bar. So, he's competing well against good horses. But for me, Mike, I just don't feel that, he's a big sort of grinding, lolloping, come from behind type. And I don't feel that the Gulfstream turf course, nor Turfway Park, where he ran last time, I don't feel that they really allowed him to, didn't really see him to best effect. So I expect that as he now gets back to Keeneland, I think that he's going to have a much easier time closing from the back. And he's a fair price at 20-1. And then the last horse I will include in here is the 8 British Isles. I'm not so keen on the 9-5 price that we get about this horse, but I think that he is very logical. Only 1 for 16, but is multiple stakes placed and has form and speed figures that really make him competitive in here. Now, he only ran here at Keeneland 15 days ago, and I feel sorry for anyone that was on board that day, because it was pretty sour watching, to be honest with you. Finished 11th by 5 1/4 lengths under an absolute hammerlock. Just as bad a stretch run as you can get. Now Wheels back in 15 days, which sort of leaves me thinking, he didn't really have much of a race last time. Does he really want this distance, or are Connections just making an afterthought? They sort of think, well, we didn't really get much of a shot last time, so we'll just wheel him back in the only race that we can, and it comes up over 1.5 miles. But he does certainly run in a style that suggests that a mile and a half will be absolutely fine for him. You've got to like the fact that Pratt sticks, and he should also be forward in a race that, quite frankly, I don't see an awful lot of speed on in this race. So I think that Flavien Prat on the turf, British Isles, will be on my ticket as well.
Yeah, if you watch that stretch drive, it's this horse was 2-1 in there, was sitting in the pocket early. The line really doesn't do it justice the way that it's in the program there. You actually have to watch it. And he was in a good spot just when it was time to turn for home. Didn't have any room whatsoever. I mean, he was certainly loaded, was ready to roll. There was no reason for him not to race well in there. There was just nowhere to go. I mean, he was wrapped up on the whole way around there. So he's right back in. I do think that a lot of people will see that, point that out. This horse is going to certainly take a lot of money. I agree on the 6. I do think that one also fits. And you mentioned 21 morning line, but if you look at a little further into his lines, January 5th, no chance in that race at Gulfstream. That race was won wire to wire. And then he's just so far back all the time. That makes it difficult to really trust him. Finished 6th behind the Ginger Wizard. I know you're pretty familiar with that one. So it's facing good company and certainly wants the distance. I think worth a use at 20 in the program. One horse you didn't mention that I will is the 2, My Boy Tony. 6-1 morning line here. It's Saez, who's has 15 wins at the meet. He's, it seems like everything. He is making all the right moves. The horse was favored last time at Fairgrounds in a 1X, finished less than a length from winning that one. Another one that likes to get a lot of shares. 6 seconds, 2/3 in 13 starts, just that one win. You inside post, third back. I do think the distance will be okay. Has a 1.5 mile line at Kentucky Downs last year where, finished second to a repeating winner. The mile 3/16 race here raced pretty well to be third back in the fall. So likes the course. I think we'll want the distance. It's an inside draw. Connections are racing very well. So that one definitely fits and probably needs to be on tickets. So 2, 6, a little bit of 8 there to kick off the pick 5 on Thursday at Keeneland. Let's jump to race number 6. Straight 3s here. We're to the dirt. 6 furlongs, Will. And honestly, this is a total crapshoot in here. I could see so many horses in this race, many prices. My top pick would probably be the 2, Spun Candy, 15-1 morning line. But if you look at last year, those couple starts, faced Immersive at Saratoga back in July, faced a Sense of Parole back in the start following that one in August. Those 2 were absolute top class horses that this horse had to face. Now it comes back at 3. It's Dallas Stewart. Now the work tab, it seems, a little bit, they're getting some nice works into this one. I would say is ready to go. Probably is going to be lower than this 15-1 morning line, I think, especially given those form lines. So I do think that one is one that I want to use coming back at 3 with that 2-year-old form. I could see the 4, me and Molly Mikee, first timer for Peter Urton. Now has a bullet 1 out of 121 work back on April 9th here at Keeneland. This barn doesn't really excel with first timers, but can get one ready. It's a Vekoma. We know how precocious that those horses are. You have Pratt here. I mean, I think that there's things to like. There's other ways to go though. The 5 I think could be used. The 9 will take a lot of money with those big figures. Just a wide open race. Where'd you go?
I completely agree on the 4, Mike. I only ended up taking 2 horses in this race. I just didn't really want to get too spready in this type of sequence where it's very easy to have an extremely expensive ticket. But I really am quite sweet on the 4, me and Molly Mikee. And you mentioned that bullet of 121, 47 and 3 half-mile workout the gate. And I actually watched that workout back and was very intrigued to see that Frankie Dettori was up for that work. Physically, I thought that this horse was really, really impressive. Looked a big, strong, powerful filly, and she looked to do the work with a lot of ease. Frankie Dettori isn't riding today. I'm not sure whether he has some sort of suspension or what have you, but you get Flavien Prat instead, certainly no negative. And I actually love the fact that she's attracted 2 of the best riders in the world before she's even stepped onto the track. That to me indicates that she's highly regarded and that she's, well meant in this spot. As you say, Vekoma on the top side, 20% with first-time starters. No one gets them out the gate better than Vekoma. And Peter Urton's already won 2 maidens at this meet, and as you say, when given the right ammunition, is very capable of having first out winners. So yes, 6-1 on the morning line. It'll be interesting to see what the betting public does with her, but the 4 definitely my top pick in here. And I do actually want to use the favourite here. 5-2 on the morning line, Velvet Devil, Michael Tomlinson and Axel Conception. This filly has shown significant promise in both of her starts to date, and was very game in defeat behind a highly regarded Brad Cox runner last time. Tried to take them gate to wire, just got run down late. 110 time form US speed figure, 88 buyer. I mean, they really stand out above this field. You get a better draw today. She drew the rail last time. Draw 9, I think, is going to be much better for her. And, I mean, they pulled 8.5 lengths clear of the third in that last race. And some people may be concerned about the fact that the winner of that race, Velvet Vortex, then came back and disappointed at a short price here at Keeneland earlier in the meet. But I'm not really too worried about that because, first of all, I mean, each horse is their own self, and Velvet Vortex could have just had a day off. The fact that Velvet Devil here has shown promise in both starts, I think she's definitely the one to beat. So, yeah, I mean, you could have gone a lot of ways in here, but just the 4 and the 9 for me.
Yeah, that's a big buyer there for a 3-year-old filly, that 88 figure back in February. And it's interesting that, this horse is still a maiden. So there's plenty of things that I'm sure they have plenty of ambitions for this one. That one can repeat that. I do think that she's going to be tough, but this is a live maiden race. I think that this is worth watching even coming forward out of here. There's plenty of other ways you can go in the race. So again, watch the board. The pick 4 starts here also. Definitely a tough maiden there on Thursday at Keeneland. Jump to race number 7. It's a 2X on the grass, mile and a 16th. Will, another pretty wide open spot.
Super wide open. Yeah, really actually enjoyed handicapping this race. I came down on another price horse in the 9, Hold My Bourbon, as the top pick in here, who recently joined William Cowan's barn towards the back end of last year. Cowan's instantly put blinkers on this Ridgeling and just brought about significant improvement. Recent bar speed figures, 83, 86, and 90, and has been knocking heads with really competitive horses. I mean, you see that race on the dirt, sprinting 7 furlongs here at Keeneland back in October. Montalcino won that race. I mean, he's a legit stakes horse. And then next time out, Split Light Line and Flight Footprint, 2 other legitimate stakes horses. Last saw Hold My Bourbon 33 days ago when he took a field gate to wire at Turfway Park with a 90 buyer, 120 time form US speed figure. And when you look back at that day, I know that there was a lot of talk this winter that Turfway had been speed favouring. That was definitely not a day where that was the case. I mean, winners were really coming from behind that day, and Hold My Bourbon went to the lead, set legitimate fractions, and they didn't even get close to him. I like the fact that he seems tactical in terms of surface, and I'm very interested by the fact that Cowans now brings him here to the turf. Suggests to me that Cowans might even think that he's going to be better again on the turf. And to be honest with you, Mike, I really don't see a whole ton of speed in here. I think that if Brian Hernandez gets him out the gate, sticks him on the front, like was the case last time, especially at 15-1. I mean, some of these other jocks might just disregard him on the front end, and I can definitely see him going gate to wire at a price. It'll be interested to see whether he comes down at all from that 15-1 morning line. But I think that he's a legitimate gate to wire threat in this race. I want to use the 11 Intellect, almost a default use, French import going out for Chad Brown, Flavien Prat, and Madacat Stables. This gelding has hit the board in 8 of 9 career starts overseas and actually won a listed stake last time out, beating a horse called Havana Cigar, who's a 5-time graded stakes place performer who 2 starts later finished second in the Grade 1 Prix-Jean Prat. So really strong form there. Now, Intellect did sort of get the jump on Havana Cigar that last day at Longchamp, but still, I mean, it's legitimate form to win a listed stake overseas in France. You've got to be a good horse to do that. Now makes first start for Chad Brown, Flavien Prat, Lasix on the first time. I mean, we saw earlier in this meet, this group team up to score with Al Jafara, another French import. I mean, 25% with overseas imports, Chad Brown, and just a very obvious horse to use. And I also want to use another European import who's been here for a little while now in the 4, Evade, who I suspect that this horse could actually be a bleeder, Mike, because came over here, ran really well in three straight graded stakes races on the turf, and then interestingly showed up in a handicap on the synthetic at Gulfstream last time, instead of returning for another graded stakes race on the turf. And I wonder whether that was because in those handicaps on the synthetic, you can still run for a big pot, but you can also use Lasix. Now returns here in an allowance again with Lasix on. Now, Evade didn't take to the synthetic last time, wasn't his best run at all. The synthetic was very speed favouring that day, I should mention, but now returns to the turf. So he's making his first start on the turf with Lasix on, and if he can run back to any of those 3 prior turf races that he ran towards the back end of last year, possibly even improve upon them. I think at 8-1, you mentioned what strong form Luis Saiz is in at the moment, and I think that he's a very logical horse to use at 8-1, and possibly on the B line. You probably roll my eyes at me using this horse as well, but I will use Royal Majesty, a real cliff horse for me, who I'm not ready to jump off yet. Just the tremendous pedigree on this horse, and it cost me an absolute fortune last year. Just kept coming up short in races that I was convinced that he was going to win, but now gets back to Keeneland. He's shown an affinity for Keeneland before. I don't think that a slowly run mile at Gulfstream last time allowed him to be seen to better effect, but he's 10-1 in this race, and Lasix on today, and I just think that around Keeneland he's got a better shot of showing what he can do. And look, 10-1 is a fair price for a horse that was placed in multiple graded stakes last year and beaten a combined 3 1/4 lengths in 2 Grade 1 races. So I would just not be able to cope if this horse beat me in this sequence, Mike. So I definitely want at least something running through him.
Well, you mentioned a bunch of horses there. I'm going to mention a couple of different ones. I don't mind Evade. I get that one there, the 4. I do think that one plays on the A line there. Just faced really tough ones last year. Howard Wallowitz, Brilliant Birdie, Laganos, all very nice horses. You mentioned the graded stakes. This horse gave a good count of itself. And I do think that the firm turf will suit. I don't think that there's any rain expected. You would probably know better than me when it comes to that. But a couple horses this horse was facing last year that you didn't mention, the 3, Hershey, I thought raced really well last year. Just ran into Brilliant Birdie and really had no chance against that one, but raced well over this course in the Byron Station back in October of last year. I do think this horse has speed, should be able to get the jump on some of these closers. I do think there's grow up potential 3-4. There's just a lot to like. And now you get Lasix here. Also, this horse, if you look back to the lines, broke the maiden, second start, 2 life, both with Lasix, both really nice wins. So I think that that's going to help also. Really probably would be a strong top pick for me in this race. I could see the 1 also, Depiction. Another horse that was in that Byron Station last year, finished second at 45-1. It's Cherie here. I know she's 1 for 22 at the meet, but her horses are racing well. She has 7 shares in addition to that 1 win. Just probably needs to get a trip. Jose Ortiz here. I do think that this horse, again, raced well over the course last year, has some back form, back class, adds Lasix. If you look at that win back at Churchill last year, again, had Lasix on. So this horse is another one that's very capable. So I think the 1, the 3, and the 4 played very well in here. I could see your 9. The 9's a little bit interesting outside the box, 15-1, could get the front, has a little bit of a hidden form in there. So I think the surface is a big thing here. That one's really going to have to handle it because these are legitimate horses that this horse is facing, legitimate turf horses. I think it's tougher for these horses that show up in these grass races that you're unsure of. When they're facing similar types that, maybe they're not so good on the grass, that those horses play better. But these are legitimate graded turf horses that this horse has to step up and beat. So that would be one thing. And I'm not sure what you think about that. Maybe you could comment. But I just think it's tougher for those horses that are dirt horses or maybe synthetic horses to break in versus legitimate, known, graded turf horses. I think that's a pretty tough hill to climb.
Sure, yeah, I completely understand that, but I feel that we're getting a fair price to take that risk at 15-1, and it was hard not to watch that race last time on the synthetic. I tend to feel that if horses get over the synthetic, they normally cope pretty well on the turf as well. And like I say, I mean, sort of taking some trainer intention here, the fact that Cowens is keen to try him on the turf. He didn't run badly at all in his lone turf try in June last year, sprinting 5.5 furlongs at Churchill Downs. And yeah, I just feel that coming into this race off of such an impressive 90 bar earning effort, 15-1, definitely worth a try.
Let's go to race number 8 and straight threes. Again, it's a 2-life allowance, 6 furlongs. Well, I was only going to use 2 horses in here. The one, Sexagenarian, 6-1 morning line. Nice blowout win, first time out at Ellis, going 5.5. Tried the grass, ran into Tistastic at Kentucky Downs. Well, that's a really nice horse. Obviously going to be in the Derby this year. Was beat less than 2 lengths in that spot in those big pot allowance races. Now this horse has taken time off since, comes back, eat an inside post. This horse has plenty of speed. And the favorite in here came from pretty far off of it first time out. If you look at that line, the 5 Ancient World was 8th of 8th early, was 14 lengths back, ended up rallying to win. Huge stretch rally to win at Fairgrounds back in March with a big figure. I just think that if the 1 comes back, has to grow up from 2 to 3, it's a practical joke. The dirt's going to suit, should be in front in this race. So I'm interested in the 1, but I could see the 5. What say you?
Completely agree. I'm going to use the 1 and the 5. Best of the speed and the horse who you would imagine is going to be closing from the back, Ancient World. I like the fact that this Joe Sharp trainee took an awful lot of money and attracted Jose Ortiz for debut, was bet down to even money. And yeah, you mentioned fell out the gate, was 14 lengths behind at the first point of call, still 10 lengths behind at the top of the stretch, and then just came with an absolute rattle. And Jose Ortiz was actually easing him down across the wire. I mean, it really was quite impressive. And at the time, I remember watching that race and I didn't really know what to make of it. But when you look back at it now, I mean, there's a couple of things that really stand out. First of all, the 2nd and 3rd place finishers of that race, well, they were positioned 1st and 2nd for the majority of the race. I mean, the speed actually held up pretty well, and this horse blew by them from 14 lengths out the back. Second thing is that Sharp hits at just 8% with first-time starters and maiden special weights. Last 5 years, he's 14 for 181. So you've got to like the fact that this horse took so much money on debut, was able to win like that. 76 bar, 104 time form US speed figure. You know, they're the fast on offer, and I think that this horse is only going to improve, quite frankly. I think now that he's had that sharpening race underneath him, he should be able to sit a little bit closer. And yeah, I just think that he's a very logical horse at 6-5 on the morning line. But I would completely agree with your 1 Sexagenarian, and at a much more likable price for all the reasons you laid out. I would make that Mike Maker trainee my top pick in here.
Jump to the last race, and it's going back to the turf. It's 3 and ups, maiden special weights, going a mile. Well, we talked off air about this race. It's a brain buster, honestly. I think you either sort of pick a horse and kind of lean on that one, or you could go a number of different ways. How are we going to get paid?
Yeah, I mean, I only ended up coming down on 2 horses in here, and then I've just written on my notes help, because I was hoping that you would be able to fill in the blanks and give me some other ideas to use. But hey ho, I'll expand on the 2 horses that I am going to use in here. The first of which is actually the first also eligible, the 13. So going to have to get this horse to draw into this field. But a horse that I do think is going to play very well in here, Victoria Oliver and the red hot Louis Saiz. Now, interestingly, this is Louis Saiz's first preference on the morning line. He's also named on the 7 Celebrity Row, who's a shorter price on the morning line. So that's interesting. The 13 Princess Attitude, I mean, she's run 4 really nice races in defeat so far, gradually stretching out in distance each time, the way that Victoria Oliver likes to campaign her horses. And she traced home a horse called Drop the Hammer 2 starts back at Gulfstream Park. We now have Drop the Hammer in the Graham Motion barn, and I can tell you that, you know, she is a nice filly, and she would blow this field out the water, I would expect. Princess Attitude now makes 3rd start of the form cycle. I think that this track, as opposed to Gulfstream, is going to see her to better effect, probably easier to come from off the pace here. And 6-1 on the morning line. When you're trying to scramble for cases, I think that Princess Attitude is a horse that you can make a case for. The other horse I'll include in here is the 4 Kimber Spice, a $300,000 daughter of Gunrunner, whose granddam, interesting actually, was multiple Grade 1 winner Life is Sweet. So get a little bit of pedigree here, and ran really well at Keeneland last year in career start number 2, finishing 4th behind Ways of Mischief and Deep Satin. Now, Ways of Mischief, she returned to win the Pucker Up Stakes, Grade 3, and Deep Satin came back and won the Virginia Oaks later in the year. So, got some strong form in here and speed figures that fit. Returned over an inadequate trip at Turfway last time, 6.5 furlongs on the synthetic, but ran well, closing from the rear, ran 3rd there. Sort of felt like a bit of a prep run there. Now stretches back out onto the turf, second start off the layoff with blinkers going on for the first time. I think that this horse is really going to step forward today. And, it's encouraging that Sophie Doyle had a winner in a maiden special weight earlier at the meet. She's going to be riding high on confidence. And, at 8-1 on the morning line, Kimber Spice will be on my ticket. But as you say, Mike, I mean, it's really just a head scratcher, this race. So did you manage to come up with anything else here?
Well, the horse that I would probably use if this horse ends up in this race, because she's entered in a different spot also as a 7 Celebrity Road. Just if you look, first time I took money for Brian Lynch and was pinched at the start, really had no chance whatsoever. So you pitched that race, showed back up on February 16th and ended up on the front and ended up getting caught late. Then, obviously this was last year. And then showed up in May at Churchill, showed speed again, but ended up getting tired. Now it comes back. You get Saez named on this horse, been working out very well, looking for a spot here. And this horse has, some form with some decent back lines as a 3-year-old. I think that the horse is well bred. I think should be up close again. Just needs to be able to finish the race. And that's the key in a race that really, there's so many question marks. There's first timers in here. You really don't know how the race is going to shape whatsoever. So I do think that this horse has some grow up potential. I do think if Saez ends up here, that's who I would want. I agree on your 13. I think that one is worth using, especially if Saez shows up there, has back lines, has taken money. Oliver has raced well with her starts. This horse is extremely well bred and, probably shouldn't be a maiden for much longer. If you look back at the Kentucky Downs lines, that race earlier this year at Gulfstream, I do think that should play very well in this race if she does get in, but I'd probably be heavy 7, a little bit of 13. I could see the 6 also just because the barn's going very well. And it's, you get the grass. Pratt Sticks there has ridden this horse in the past. One that would not surprise me, but it's almost an impossible race, really. And I'm sure the 5 will take some money. The California horse, after 2 turf races, just got beat an inch last time back in March at Santa Anita going down the hill. I mean, there's other ways you can go in this race. And really, this is the kind of race that probably would prevent me from really getting heavy into pick 5s here, just because it's so difficult and you can get alive and just get blown away in the last race where I don't really have much of an opinion. But, well, Will, I think this is a great sequence. If you can get it right, it has the chance to really pay a lot of money. Final thoughts for me for Keeneland for Thursday.
Yeah, just echo everything you said. I mean, a really fun, challenging sequence to handicap, and if you can connect the dots here, you're going to be walking out with your pockets stuffed full of cash, because it certainly has the feel of a sequence that is going to pay extremely well. So good luck, everyone.
Yeah, I know we're going to have you on for some of the Derby coverage, but just give us a quick update on those motion horses that are shipping to Churchill. Both ready to fire, you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Tesco actually obviously won the Transylvania Stakes here at Keeneland at the start of the meet, and he has taken that race so well. Probably better than most horses would take a normal race. He is so sharp right now. We actually had to get him back on the pony in the morning for the first time. He's never been on the pony before, but he's just bouncing out of his skin. He's loving his racing right now, and just every time he runs, he just comes back and feels stronger and better, and really excited to see what he can do. I did actually hear Qatar Racing split with their British-based trainer Andrew Balding the other day, who you may remember, New Century, who won the Summer Stakes at Woodbine last time. He's now coming over and joining Brendan Walsh's barn, and he is also going to be showing up as in the same race as Tescore. So he's certainly going to be a live threat, but Tescore's high on confidence right now, and we're definitely not scared to take him on, that's for sure. And Fondly, I mean, she's been training up in Fairhill, actually. She's going to ship down to Churchill tomorrow, but has put in a couple of really nice works recently. Visually looked great doing it, and we certainly feel that she stepped forward from that win in the Virginia Oaks last time. It was encouraging to see early on come back and improve her by 10 points early on, finish second to Fondly in the Virginia Oaks, and she finished second again behind Ballerina Dioro in New York with a 10-point bar improvement. So, she's still lightly raced. We appreciate that it is a extremely tough task, but she's earned her right to be there, and we're excited to be involved.
Yeah, got to be in it to win it for sure. Well, definitely wish you all the best with those, and hope to get you on here for a lot of the Derby stuff. I know that we'll be getting you on the plus side for sure, and always good to be with you.
Thanks, Mike. Great to be on.
This has been a production of In the Money Media. We thank Keeneland for their continued sponsorship. We will have another show for the Friday races. I believe it will be me and Michael Domable doing that for you. So check that out. We'll see you all next time.